Morning, members. Just waiting for the chair. She indicated that she will be joining the platform. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable members and officials and our guests.
Morning, Chair.
Morning.
Morning, Chair.
Welcome, Ariko, again.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Are we a quorum? We can start the meeting, eh?
We can proceed, yes, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. The meeting is officially opened. I also wish to welcome everybody in a meeting. I hope that at least for today, by 12:30 will be done. But we will not leave no stone unturned. We'll do all what is supposed to have been done. Can you then, Secretary, flight the agenda? Can you lead us in that?
Thank you, Chair. So we'll be receiving two presentations from the Department of Electricity and Energy, Chair. The first one is a briefing by the department on its third quarterly performance report for 25-26 financial year. And then also an update by the Department of Electricity and Energy relating to the performance of all the entities for the third quarter. And then we'll consider and adopt outstanding minutes, Chair. Those are all the items that we will be dealing with this morning, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Secretary. Can I then request honorable members to adopt the agenda as proposed? Ariko, do we have any apologies first so that we can do it concurrently?
We do, Chair. We've received apologies from Mayor's son, who's currently flying out from Kimberley, but she will be joining us as soon as he lands, Chair. And then Mr. Thring, who indicated that he is a speaker at the memorial of Honorable Lekota. And then we've also received an apology from the Minister of Electricity and Energy, who is flying from Brazil to South Africa, Chair. Those are the apologies received. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. I propose the adoption of the agenda and the noting of the apologies.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Vusi.
Thank you, Chair. I second the adoption of the agenda and acceptance of apologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have the Deputy Minister with us, Ariko?
It doesn't look like a chair, but I do see the acting DG on the platform.
Only the acting DG, okay.
Correct.
It's fine. Then if it is the case, without wasting any time, let's go to the next item, which is the briefing by the department. DG?
Chairperson, good morning to you and to the members of the committee. It's good to hear Ariko back with the committee. I hope he's now recovered fully. Chairperson, I'll take you through the presentation. I'll run through the full presentation, and afterwards, after I'm done, with your permission, I'll ask the DDGs to add where they need to add. And then the CFO will maybe talk in a bit more detail to the financials, and then DDG Bangwanan will deal with the report of the entities. Chair, can I just establish whether I should share the presentation on my side or whether it will be flighted from the Secretariat?
I've given you co-hosting rights, DG.
You can, yes, you can go on sharing.
Okay, let me do that. Okay, Chair. Members, Chairperson, through it, may I just establish that the presentation is visible on your side?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. So, honorable members, Chairperson, this is obviously the purpose of is to take you through the performance for quarter 3, but of course the manner in which we prepared the presentation, it does reflect both from quarters 1 to quarter 3. And then we will deal with the performance highlights and then the detailed performance tables. Chair, this is a summation or a high-level summary, a cumulative for the 3 quarters that we've gone through. I must say that it is really unfortunate that quarter 3 marks our worst performance. We ended the quarter at 48%. We'll obviously talk through the reasons for the non-performance and the mitigation, but the performance we concluded on 48% against 68 for the quarter 2 and then 65 for quarter 1. I will, as I conclude, just give you an indicative sense of where we're hoping to land by the end of quarter 4 and conclusion of the financial year. This is just for in fact, let me use it on this table here. So if you look at the shaded area in quarter 3, for financial management services, a total number of 1 target and 1 target not achieved. In corporate services, all 3 of the targets were achieved. In energy planning and policy development, only 2 of the 8 targets were achieved, which is a 25% performance, meaning 6 targets were not achieved. Energy programs and projects, only 2 of the 10 were achieved, 8 were not met. In the nuclear regulation and management, of the 5 targets, 4 were achieved and 1 was not achieved. And then in the state-owned companies, 400% performance for the branch there. And then, as I say, the overall performance of the 31 targets, we landed at 15, which represents a 48% performance for the end of quarter. This is really just the same breakdown. Chair, I want to request your permission. I want to go straight into the detailed tables. It does reflect the performance that you see here. I want to do it on the detailed tables because the tables actually show you the specific target for the annual target and then the quarterly target. If that's okay, Chair, I'll proceed to the tables with your permission, Chair.
You can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so as I explained, Chair, you'll see from what I just
recording in progress.
From the few slides I'd skipped now, it's basically only picks it up from the second last column, quarter 3 performance with the performance dashboard. So in this screen, you see the full performance at the granular level.
Recording
Which I think for the purpose of the committees is probably the more helpful version to look at. So on the first target, the percentage of approved invoices from service providers, this, as we've been reporting now for the past 2 quarters.
Recording in progress.
Has been a difficulty because of the nature of the dual contracts that we continue to share with our colleagues in the DMPR. So typically this, what would happen is that service providers for those joint contracts would invoice the MPR. We will then receive the invoice through the MPR. So by the time we receive the invoices on 4 occasions of the 91 invoices that we processed, they would have come through late, and as a result, we didn't meet the processing timeline of 30 days. So that was marked as a non-performance. The macro organizational structure, we remain on track. The target was an approved organizational structure aligned to the DEE's approved strat plan. The target for the quarter was a diagnostic submission, and that submission was indeed submitted to EXCO. We've actually gone beyond. By the end of this month, we will receive in fact, in the next 2 weeks, we will receive the first iteration of the N-1. So N-1 is the one level below the DG, so the DDG level, and then into the new quarter, we'll then draw down into the lower levels of the structure. But that work is continuing quite well. The percentage of funded vacancies, here 90% of funded vacancies filled within the prescribed timelines. We hadn't advertised any vacancies. There are the 3 vacancies, of course, relating to the Director General, the Chief Financial Officer, the Chief Director for Corporate Services. Those are all in process. As we reported in the previous quarters for the DG, we had to get the President's minute, which was since obtained. The adverts had gone out, the shortlisting is concluded. The ministerial panel to do the interviews, in fact, they were meant to do it this weekend, but unfortunately, as a result of the Brazil state visit, the interviews were cancelled, so it is being deferred for the next 2 weeks for the DG, and similarly for the Chief Director and the CFO. We concluded the shortlisting for the CFO, I think on Monday. The interviews will be scheduled in the next 2 weeks, and the corporate services will conclude the shortlisting next week, and similarly in the next 3 weeks, the interviews will be concluded. So we do hope that at least by the end of the year, we will have done those 3 positions and issued appointment letters. And then there are other vacancies which we've held back because of the restructuring process. So once the restructuring process is concluded, we will then proceed to fill the remaining vacant positions. The next one was a number of priority skills programs implemented. The target for the quarter was 10 programs. We met that target. In fact, exceeded it to 24. I think they were looking at whether that target needs to be updated as we move forward for the next period. The second one was the employment equity plan. The target was the plan must have been developed and approved. That plan has since been approved by EXCO and signed off by the DG. That's the corporate administration program. Then we move on to energy planning and policy development. Here, the revised IRP, there was no target for the quarter. The IRP had been submitted to previously. The gas master plan, Chairperson, this is one of the areas, one of 6 areas within this branch that we were really lagging badly behind. The gas master plan, in part as a result of 2 or 3 things. The first was that, about September of last year, Minister asked that we appoint a panel of experts to help us quality assure the gas master plan ahead of its depositing into the public participation process. That panel has since been appointed. The second thing, which was probably the more structural reason why we could not progress on the gas master plan, was that up to that point, the modeling had been based on the IRP 2019. With the approval of the IRP in October, we now have to do a significant remodeling of the assumptions in the model, and obviously that will reflect in a different approach on the outputs for the gas master plan. So that work, in spite of that explanation, remains inconcluded or incomplete, and for the quarter we hadn't met the target to have processed it through NetLink. And then, sorry, I missed one there. The integrated energy plan also delayed. Here we had a delay in finalizing the technical agreement. We being supported by the this is the Spanish government through the Spanish aid agency. We had challenges with the manner in which they had constructed the contract, which since got legal to help us work around that. The contract was vetted and signed off by legal services by the DG in December, so that work is now proceeding. The National Energy Forecasting and Data Management System upgrade, again here the target was not achieved. We experienced delays in finalizing the terms of reference. Here, in part, the problem sits with the work we're doing with Sanedi and how we specified what capability we create in the department vis-a-vis what gets to be set up in the Energy Center of Excellence that is now located in Sanedi. Nevertheless, as I say, the Q3 target was for the scoping for the design to be finalized. That was not achieved. That target will be made up in the current quarter, fourth quarter, and processed through the bid specification committee. And then the energy balance statistics and the number of statistics reports, those are two separate. Both of those targets were achieved. We produced one energy balance statistics report, and then similarly produced 3 energy statistics report that covered pricing report, a trade, and then we produced a sector report, energy sector report, to account for those 3. And then on the NEDLAC report on the draft nuclear energy amendment bill, we had the target was to conclude the NEDLAC consultations. We have not been able to deposit the draft bill in NEDLAC because we are awaiting cabinet to preside over the item. We had concluded the process through the asset cluster in November already of last year, but as a result of the break in or cabinet rising for the recess in December, we could not make it into cabinet. So it's in line now to proceed to cabinet. Once we get the cabinet decision, we will then process it to NEDLAC. This target does remain risky because the likelihood is that we will not get a cabinet decision before the end of March, sufficiently so to commence the NEDLAC consultation as per the target. And then on the National Energy Market Oversight and Coordination Unit established. Here, Chair, the target is reported as not achieved. And let me just make the point here, Chair, that we've had just on the substance of how the internal teams, both the audit team and the SPME, the planning and monitoring and evaluation team. This one has been the subject of quite intense debate because the point here is that firstly this coordination capacity sits within NASA. NASA has established the unit within the current structure, and where they are now is that they are busy creating the necessary IT infrastructure to support the work that the unit must undertake as part of market surveillance and market oversight. So that capacity is the actual indicator was not achieved. There has been significant progress, and we should be able to make up the target or correct the target in the current quarter, meaning Q4. And then similarly, the Just Energy Transition Framework reviewed and approved. The framework was in draft. It had been circulated. So in other words, it has gone through a round of engagement. When we took it it was processed through EXCO and subsequent to MINEXCO. So EXCO is the senior management team of the department. MINEXCO is the EXCO team plus minister and deputy minister. So this is one of the items that would have gone to MINEXCO. That served in MINEXCO earlier in the year. The Minexo asked for a number of amendments to be made to the framework, and that will be updated and resubmitted to Minexo. As a result, the target is not met. Then on energy programs and projects, the first target there is the strategy for repurposing of the INAP. Now, this target is a bit tricky. If you look at the annual target, it says that the program model must be developed and submitted to cabinet for consideration. So that's what we're chasing for as an annual target. That target has been met. So in October, we went to cabinet. We've got a cabinet decision to repurpose the INAP, Integrated National Electrification Program, and frame it as part of now to be called the Universal Access Program. So in spite of the fact that we've already reached the annual target, the Q3 target was to establish the PMO, which we could only do once we had the cabinet approval, and then to design and develop the financing strategy. So that's what is marked as non-performance is the Q3 target, which is the signing of the MOU with DSA. DSA's board has since granted approval for the entering into the MOU, and we have now commissioned the AFTP to assist us to appoint consultants who will deal with the financial model, the financing model for the revised Universal Access Program. So the tricky thing, as I'm saying here, is that the annual target has been achieved. And maybe this has got to do with the efficacy of how we scripted, how we designed the in-year targets, the quarterly targets. But we will nevertheless catch up the target and conclude the year comfortably with that target being in the green. And then on the number of households, with respect to national commitment, MDP towards achieving the 1.6 household connections. These are broken up into two reporting horizons. The first is the 5B. These are the allocations that we make to municipalities. That target was achieved. 50 municipalities were monitored against the conditions in the INAP grant, and then similarly for ESCOM, which is the 6B, the 45 municipalities which are connected under ESCOM's distribution license were monitored and evaluated under the INAP conditions. And then there's 3.3, the number of additional households electrified on non-grid technologies. The target there was to achieve 15,000. Just want to get to my notes on that one. So year chair, the target was not met. The target of the quarterly target of 7,000 households was not met against the 15,000 annual target. The delays was largely as a result of the delays in the signing appointment of non-grid service providers. That work has since happened. I'm sure DDG Kekana will speak to it, but the catch-up plan that we reported in Q2 has assisted. It hasn't assisted sufficiently to meet the target for Q3, but almost a week or so into the new quarter, that target is already sitting at 75%. So what the catch-up plan for Q2 was that the contractors would have been asked to work overtime to increase the hours in December. So that has indeed paid deficit. I think we're now sitting at upwards of 75%. And again, here we should comfortably, or not comfortable, but we should be able to push through and meet the connection target on that indicator. Then on the number of project sites inspected, conducted for planning monitoring for the EDSM, the Energy Efficiency Demand Side Management Project. 40 project sites were meant to be inspected for the quarter. The target was not met. 3 sites could not be reached or were not reached in time against, 37 were against the target of 40. So the target was not achieved. For this one, I think what in the discussion for the revised AP, the new APP for the next financial year, we're looking at this target very differently. This one and similarly the INEP 5B and 6B monitoring and evaluations, they're not really helping us understand. So even though we've visited 40 sites, it doesn't give you a sense of what the efficacy of the delivery program is. So we're reviewing these targets, but as it stands now, this target was not met. And then the next 2 was the determination issued under the IRP. The target for the quarter was concurrence. I think when we drafted the APP, this should have been corrected because obviously error was amended and came into effect January of last year. So it no longer requires concurrence. It simply requires the minister to have consulted. The submission for the draft Section 34 determination based on the RP 25 has been prepared. Minister has signed it off. He has now placed it before the regulator and the Minister of Finance for their comments, after which, based on those comments, having met the requirement for consultation, the Minister will then either proceed to issue or amend as may have been guided by both the regulator and the Minister of Finance. But in any event, we will conclude the issuance of the Section 34 under RP 25 in the quarter, in the current quarter 4. And then the revised gas to power RFP finalized and issued to market. There was so the annual target was to issue the RFP. These were not broken up into, for at least for the quarter, there was no specific target. In any event, this annual target will not be met. This is the RFP for gas. Confusing it with the ESCO one. So this one didn't have a quarterly target, so it was not measured. Then, Chairperson, members of the committee, the RFP for lines. This is the ITP, the 1,664 transmission kilometers of transmission line in infrastructure through the ITP modality. The RFP was the RFQ was issued. The RFP was issued in draft to market in December. It had been extended until the end of, when it was issued in December, it was scheduled to close at the end of March, after which the RFP will then be finalized and issued finally to market. The other dependency that is on the critical part of the RFP issuance is the conclusion by the National Treasury of the credit guarantee vehicle, which we had in the initial anticipation hoped would have been concluded by March. The CGV has been established. Treasury, as members would know, the National Treasury through the Minister in the budget speech had committed 2 billion rand to as a government's shareholding in the vehicle. But our estimation is now that the CGV will only be operational towards by about September of this year. So that target has not been met. The implementation strategy for the ITP. This one again, Chairs, we reported in quarter 2. We opted not to proceed to establish an ITPO, the Independent Transmission Power Projects Office, because the ITP program is now housed in the IPPO, which had historically been doing generation procurement. So this target we will have to live with as not being achieved because of a change in the strategic approach to how we deliver in the ITP model. And then on the ADAM framework, the annual target was the program framework finalized and submitted to Cabinet for discussion and decision making. The quarterly target was for the draft framework to be concluded. The draft is now has been achieved. The draft is ready, and of course will then be processed for cabinet decision making. Then the establishment of the PMO. This is the okay. So the annual target is the establishment of the PMO. The quarterly target was the draft quantitative socioeconomic impact analysis report, draft report. This has not been achieved. The corrective measure there is that the appointment of the service provider to help us do that assessment is in process. We've partnered with the Localization Support Fund. Maybe let me clarify, Chair. This relates to the PMO now for the implementation of SARM, the South African Renewables Energy Master Plan. The appointment for the service provider is in process. We've partnered with the Localization Support Fund to conduct the cost-benefit study. The plan is still to have concluded the study by the end of the financial year. Then on the draft national standards for green hydrogen production for energy use in South Africa developed. The draft discussion paper for JH2 production was the annual target. The quarterly target was stakeholder consultation and adaptation of localization and international standards adapted to the South African context. We have not achieved this target. This is largely due to, if we look at our structure, we really don't have a capacity, a capability to deal with this work. In fact, much of the work that we do on the green hydrogen is supported by the DSI, Department of Science and Technology and Innovation, and the PMO that sits at the IDC. We have now contracted through the IDC 2 resources which will help us upscale this work, but we are unlikely. In fact, we are unfortunately not going to make this target. There is an IMC on the green hydrogen environment, because there's a great deal of collaboration between ourselves, the DSI, the presidency, the DTIC on the commercialization end. We remain the custodians of the energy chapter under the Hydrogen Society roadmap. And part of the work has to be coordinated through the IMC. But to the extent that we're responsible for the target setting, Chair, that target has not been made for the quarter, and unfortunately, as I say, we're not going to be able to make that target for the end of the annual. So, Chair, moving on to the Nuclear Energy Regulation and Management branch. This is the branch. Only one of their targets was not achieved. So the number of monitoring reports for the nuclear fuel cycle strategy produced. And the target for the quarter was 1 that was achieved. It was processed through both Expo and Monexco. The socioeconomic cost-benefit analysis report for the 10 gigawatts of nuclear. Initially, when this target was scripted, it was obviously put on the ABP based on the policy adjustment in the 29 IRP. As members will know, the 2025 IRP took a different approach to nuclear. So 5,200 is in the tables. So that's what we're required to procure in terms of the IRP. And then as part of the policy adjustment, there's a reference to a 10 gigawatts rather of nuclear power. This would straddle beyond energy. It will include industrial application, industrial heating applications, medical applications, and the possibility of exports of nuclear capability. So what that CBA, the cost-benefit analysis, would be to probe to that extent the industrialization, as it's phrased in the policy adjustment, the IRP. So as a result of us having to redefine the outputs for the socioeconomic cost-benefit analysis, there was a delay in issuing the specification to market. The target, the corrective measure is that although we will issue, we're processing the TOR now through the SCM, but we're not likely to meet this target. We will obviously at the end of the quarter propose that this target be deferred to 26, 27. Then the last target at last target, number of reports on the implementation of Kuba nuclear power plant's long-term application. 4 reports for the quarter, for the annual, and 1 for the quarter. That was achieved, as the members again would know. The last of the, or rather, Unit 2 was the long-term license. Extension of the license was signed off in November. So we're actually concluding this work, but the target has been satisfied. And then, Chair, the number of monitoring reports on the implementation of the MPR, the multipurpose reactor, research reactor project. Again, 4 monitoring reports are expected, 1 per quarter, and we've met the quarterly target there. And then on the number of reports on the establishment of the CISF, the Central Interim Storage Facility. This sits on the Nrwadi outcomes. Again, 4 reports, monitoring reports, 1 for the quarter, and that target was indeed met. Chair, I will pause here with your permission, and perhaps invite DDG Pangwanan, Dr. Pangwanan, to take us through the state-owned entities report. Chair, if I may, with your permission, hand over to DDG Pangwanan.
Thanks, ADG.
Okay, thank you, acting DG. Then DDG, you can continue. Thank you.
ADG, I think we need to go back. I'm not sure what is the echo.
Yeah, there's an echo on your end, Dr. Pangwanan.
Okay, let me.
I see you've got 2 devices. You might have to mute 1 device.
I don't have. Okay, is this better? Still.
Yes, it's still echoing. Yeah. Okay, perhaps, Doc, let me run through it. You can see if we can sort it out in the meantime. When you're ready, just shout. You can take over, but let's not waste the time, committee. I just want to take back the. Is the presentation still visible, Chairperson?
Yes, I can see.
Okay. So colleagues, I mean, this is the entities that we're responsible for: Sanedi Research, Nucleus, Nexa, and Nrwadi. Eskom is obviously the utility, energy, electricity, and then the 2 regulators, NERSA and the NNR. Again, common cause: Eskom, Nexa, Schedule 2 entities, and Nrwadi, NNR, NERSA, and Sanedi are the 3 A's. The SOE performance for Q3. This is the
DG, I'm back.
You're back. Okay. You may go ahead, Doc.
Okay. All right. So we are on the summary of the Q3 SOE performance. And here we see that Eskom has achieved 63%. 22 of the targets have been achieved out of 35. In terms of overall performance, we would like our entities to be at an 80% performance. And that's why we mark it in red. And I'm going to go, this is just an overall slide, and I will go into deeper detail in the next coming slides. Nexa is on a 73%, also unsatisfactory on our side, as we'd like them to achieve an 80%. And they have not achieved 4 out of the 15 targets. The NERSA, the NNR, the Nrwadi, and the Sanedi performance all look good. from an operational perspective. However, on the financial side, we see that they have posted deficits. However, each CFO has confirmed that these were due to high operational expenditures, and these will be made up. So we expect all our entities to be profitable by year end. Next slide. In terms of Eskom, we are expecting a 69% performance when we catch up by quarter 4. We find that this is unsatisfactory. We have instructed the board for further interventions. The non-achieved targets relate to operations, finance, municipal payment levels, legal separation, investigations, and industrialization targets. In terms of the operations, we have set the EAF to a 70%, and Eskom for quarter 3 reported a 62%. But currently the EAF is very strong. It's now at 65%. Year to date, and it reflects the ongoing progress that is made in terms of station performance, reliability, stability, as well as advancing the operational recovery. We also, for the financial year, have seen the EAF recorded 78 occasions. So the operational performance from a generation perspective is looking good. In terms of unplanned outages, we also see quite a huge reduction, so some good improvements. So they were recorded at 8,146 megawatts. So really much better than the stages of load shedding, which was 14,000 megawatts and above. In terms of the diesel expenditure as well, we see that Eskom is below budget, and year on year significant cost savings. However, we were not happy with the transmission performance in terms of the number of lines that were meant to have been built, and so we have directed the board for further engagements. Next slide. Next slide, please.
If it's moving on my side, I'm not sure it's not moving on the screen.
Not moving, DG.
I can share my own.
Oh, there you go, Commissioner. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So on the Eskom finances, revenue earned by Eskom is below budget due to the sales volumes that are declining, and this is because we saw smelter operations decline, as well as we saw an increase in rooftop PV behind the meter. Savings in primary energy costs are mainly due to the lower costs that are incurred on nuclear, OCGTs, and the IPPs. Net finance costs realized savings due to lower interest on debt securities and borrowings. The latest projections is that the utility will remain profitable at the end of the year. By quarter 3, the net profit was 27.58 billion. Next slide. We can see that Eskom's financial position is looking strong. It remains solvent. The cash balances are healthy, demonstrating this ability to meet the short-term obligations. In terms of the debt relief program, we see that equity has been strengthened and the subordinate loans have been converted into equity. The debt levels have improved due to favorable interest rate movements and the impact of government support. Next slide. In terms of the Eskom debt relief, thus far 140 billion has been dispersed to Eskom. 76 billion in 2023-2024 financial year, 64 billion in the 2024-2025 financial year. And to date, Eskom has met all the strategic conditions, and the subordinate loans have been successfully converted into equity. So a further 80 billion will be dispersed in this financial year, and Eskom will receive that 31st March 2026. We see also in terms of the audit recovery that Eskom is making good progress and addressing the historic adverse audit findings, and progress there is about 95%. And the department will be monitoring audit recovery and very, very closely, as well as we've instructed the board to monitor audit recovery, as we do want to move this entity into a clean audit position in the coming years. In terms of operational performance, further to the elaboration on the performance of stations, we also saw that Unit 6 at the Kusile Power Station was brought into commercial operation, and all 6 units are now in commercial operation. Further to that, we also do oversight on the Koeberg nuclear power plants, and last year there was a Unit 1 was granted extension of life license, and then we also had Unit 2 also receiving the long-term operation license extension in the third quarter of last year. So Koeberg Unit 1 will now run till 2044, and Unit 2 till 2045. Also some excellent performance with Koeberg as well, with Unit 2 delivered 1 year of continuous operation and a 99.4% EAF since the major upgrades were done on this unit. We also reporting, Medupi Power Station Unit 4 return to service, and overall performance at Eskom operations looking much stronger. Now I'm going to go into Nexa. So Nexa achieved also a good performance of 73%. The missed targets relate to financial sustainability, commercial enterprises, as well as business continuity and efficiency. Recovery initiatives have been implemented to improve the overall performance in the fourth quarter, and we expect to have an 80% achievement at year end. Next slide. So Nexa, we see an underperformance mainly due to Palchem and the NTP group not meeting their financial targets. NTP is applying various market strategies to regain their market share. And we have, and a financial sustainability task team was also convened in January to implement further cost containment and enhance the revenue generation in Nexa Group. But overall, the sales targets for the NTP was not achieved primarily due to the loss of the pharmaceutical sales, and Palchem net profit after tax was also on a decline because in July 2025 there was a fluorine cell plant failure, and that then reduced the forced plant throughput. There was also the issue of the 30% tariff hike from the US. And overall geopolitics affecting global networking and market diversification. But from a financial perspective, Nexa is solvent, but low equity levels. There is pressure on the long-term financial sustainability, And then there is a persistent declines in cash and assets, and this creates exposure to the financial risk. Overall, the financial position is weak with high liabilities at Nexa. So Nexa, requires a lot of attention, and you will see in the coming slides that the department will be administering corrective measures. In terms of NERSA's performance is quite good, achieving 97%. The missed target relates to Program 1 regulatory service delivery, and here it was more to do with compliance audits that were missed. It was about 4 that was missed, and these compliance audits, generally rely on responses from licensees, and that had not come in time. However, the team will be meeting the target by Q4. Next slide. So NERSA's financials is below budget, mainly due to the petroleum pipeline business not meeting its budget, the petroleum pipeline business has been impacted by reduced volumes due to lower market demand, and there's limited production at Natref, and export delays were also experienced. Savings in expenditure is mainly driven by the underspending in employment costs as a result of the unfilled vacancies, and NERSA realized a deficit due to operational costs being higher than revenue. NERSA is solvent with assets exceeding liabilities. Liquidity remains adequate with stable cash balances, and the downward trend in net asset value signals a need to strengthen reserves and ensure sustainability. In terms of operational performance, the generation facilities were registered within 45 calendar days. Since the inception of the registration regime, which began in 2018, Nexa has registered 2,236 generation facilities and a total capacity of 16,040 megawatts and a total investment of 328 billion. NERSA has also established the Electricity Market Advisory Forum, and this will assist in a number of matters that pertain to the South African electricity market platform that we will be launching in this year. And the role of this advisory forum is to facilitate the competition in the electricity market, ensure that there's fair and efficient market participation, and monitor compliance with market code on behalf of the regulator. NERSA had also approved 17 trading licenses, and the regulatory and policy advocacy had provided comments to the first independent transmission project. That's the Section 34 determination for the procurement of transmission infrastructure from the private players. The NNR. So the NNR performance is exceptional. They have met all their targets. Next slide. The year-to-date revenue is better than the budget due to the high interest income, and the NNR has realized savings on operational expenditure due to reduced goods and services expenditure, delays in executing planned activities during the festive season, and then cost containment measures. And NNR has realized a surplus due to savings in operational expenditure, and the revenues are better than budget. They also have stronger revenue collection, controlled spending, and sound fiscal discipline, which results in a solid surplus position for the NNR. Next slide. I'll skip the slide because NNR is looking very strong on the cash and cash flows and well as assets and liabilities. NMOD performance, also an exceptional performance. All planned targets were achieved. The revenue has exceeded budget due to interest income and accumulated cash reserves. Year-to-date operating expenditure exceeded budget due to a high use of consultancy fees and general expenses. And the surplus achieved during the period was mainly due to the utilization of funds from the surplus. And this was used to offset the overspending and mitigate the operating deficit. And the CFOs are, the CFO will contain the operating expenditure and they are expected to return a profit by Q4. Next slide. NWADI maintains a healthy financial position, supporting ongoing operations and strategic initiatives. So they are looking good from a cash and cash equivalents as well. Next slide. Sanedi. Sanedi is also on a very good performance. They have met 20 of the 21 targets. The target that was not achieved pertained to filling of a vacancy, and Sanedi will recruit and fill this position by Q4, and that was due to an unexpected resignation. In terms of finances, 50% of the revenue is derived from NTEF allocation, and the other 50% comes from donor agencies and work that they do for the DSI. The increase in revenue and expenditure is mainly due to externally funded projects that were not included in the original budget, because at that time, Sanedi had limited information when they were putting together the APP targets. And the Institute has reported a surplus against a budget break-even position, despite the expenditure or overspending on the OPEX. And the better than budget performance is due to the improved revenue earned during the period under review, which was up until 31st December. Sanedi remains solvent with total assets of 340.8 million, exceeding total liabilities of 218.6 million. The cash balances are also looking good, supporting long-term liquidity, and they are able to meet their operational obligations. So the net asset value decreased marginally compared to the previous quarter, but the organization is in a very stable financial position overall. Next slide. So here, I'd like to discuss the funding challenges that, across the Schedule 3 entities, as well as NEXA, because NEXA also receives allocations from MTEF. National Treasury effected budget reductions, and this has affected the operational stability of all the Schedule 3 entities as well as NEXA. And the budget cuts are now constraining things like maintenance, infrastructure upgrades, and project implementation. And it's also placing more increased reliance on the internal revenue streams and borrowing to sustain operations. There is reduced capacity now to meet strategic and developmental mandates. The department has already been engaging National Treasury, to present to them the negative impact that these budget cuts are having on those SOEs, and also to emphasize the risks that we are now having to service delivery and the national priorities, and for us to explore together with National Treasury alternate funding and support mechanisms to assist these entities. Thank you, ADG, and back to you.
Thanks, DJ Chair. I'll just conclude our presentation with the performance of the branch, so the branch DJ Bangwanan's branch. I think they achieved all four of theirs, so I'll run through it quickly. The four SOE compacts, rather two for the two SOEs. We are drafting now for the next financial year. Both of those contracts are in draft, and we're engaging the respective entities. The number of SOEs with strategic intent statements finalized. Again, those are the two SOEs. This we do once in the administration. So the SOE, the strategic intent statement, was finalized last year. Of course, we'll revise if there's major changes to strategic direction. That is not the case this year, so there's no amendments to the strategic intent statement. And then on the SOE, the annual performance plans reviewed for NERSA and Rwadi, NNR, and Sanedi. Those four were also were all processed and served through come through the parliamentary process, portfolio committee process. And then the number of quarterly reports assessed for energy SOEs for the quarter, 6 reports for each of the entities were processed accordingly, and so the targets was duly met. And then the number of monitoring and compliance on conditions relating to the ESCOM debt relief package. The target for the quarter was 1 report on the state of compliance, and the report was approved. ESCOM has complied with all of those conditions, and the National Treasury has certified to that extent. And then on the corporate plan review, it's the review of the corporate plans for the quarter, similarly to the number of monitoring reports on ESCOM's restructuring process. There was no target scheduled for the quarter. The two reports respectively were processed in the first 2 quarters. Rather in the first quarter and in the fourth quarter. And then the number of SOEs, shareholder compacts finalized, 2 for ESCOM and the compact for ESCOM, and I think it means that should say NEXA, not NERSA. Apologies for that, Chair. Those were both achieved. I think we've reported on those. Yeah, this is a repeat slide, in fact, Chair, apologies. The number of monitoring reports on the implementation of the Generation Recovery Plan, we meant to produce 4 reports, 1 per quarter. Again, this one was achieved. So, Chair, that's the sum total of the performance of the department, the branches, and of course the report of the entities as presented by DDG Bangwanan. Chair, thank you very much. That is the presentation from our side.
Okay.
Hello. The nails make me to suffer to switch on and unmute myself. Otherwise, thanks ever so much, Acting DG and DDG for the presentation. I hope the members noted the questions because it's quite a long presentation from the department to the SOEs. So now it's our opportunity to engage with the presentation. I will note hands. I think this one is Paulson, Honorable Paulson, and then followed by Honorable Vusi, and then Honorable Mailam. I will again take the others. Thank you. Over to you, Honorable Member.
Good morning, and Chair and the department. Thank you very much for the presentation, Acting DG and DDG and officials. Chairperson, my questions are not long. I'd like to know, the department has spent 4.7 billion. That's 70.6% of its 6.7 billion adjusted appropriation by the end of the third quarter. While the overall percentage seems high, it is heavily skewed by large numbers in Program 3, which is electrification, and Program 4, which is nuclear. But Chairperson, there's a worrying trend here. Program 5, SOC Support Services, has spent only 25.9% of its budget. Program 2, Energy Planning and Policy Development, has spent only 47.9% of its budget. Program 1, Administration, has spent 59.4% of its budget. And the department states that the primary reason for the slow expenditure is because of delays in filling vacant positions, outstanding cost of living adjustments, and delayed appointments of service providers for major projects like fuel sampling and testing project, the gas master plan, and the non-grid electrification. So, Chairperson, I'd like to know the 74 vacant posts, 349 employees against a headcount of 423. So given that slow spending on compensation for employees is a recurring theme across all 5 programs, what specific bottlenecks are preventing the filling of these roles? And I know the acting DG did say that there's an intervention to ease it. And how does the department expect to reach its full complement by the 2026-27 financial year if it cannot fill the current vacancies? And then the department admits that the budget for the non-grid electrification may not be fully spent and targets are being missed. So what specific procurement or technical obstacles are stalling these projects? And what corrective measure is being planned to ensure that the 9,000 household deficit is closed in the next cycle? I don't know how they're going to do it, Chairperson, because it's already been such a slow delivery, and now they still have a 9,000 deficit before the next cycle. Then also, when it comes to the national energy security, the department has spent less than half its budget in Program 2. And this is because of the appointment of service providers for the gas master plan, and the Grand Inga project has been delayed. So how will these delays impact South Africa's long-term energy security and the just energy transition? Because we're working according to a timeline here, and this is part of that timeline. So we are behind. What will the department do to make sure that we catch up and that we do not fall further behind as far as the long-term energy security and the just energy transition? Last question, Chairperson. Program 1 has resolved 75% of the audit findings against a 100% target. Only 40% of internal processes has been digitized against a 50% target. So what are the recurring internal and external audit findings that remain unresolved? And does this contribute to the procurement delays seen in the other programs? Thank you very much. Chair?
Can we give the department to answer?
Yeah, I will, with your permission, thanks to the member for the questions. I will call upon the DDGs to assist. I'll deal with one or two of them. On the filling of posts, I think we accept that criticism, let me say. We had stalled. I think there may be an issue with the numbers. We have a total head count of 381, against which 351 or 350 posts are filled. So the vacancy rate is not high as the 78 number, Honorable Paulson. I will validate those numbers, but the numbers that I've given you now is what we have it as of now. The reason, as I explained, the three posts, the DG, CFO, Corporate Services Chief Director, that's in process, we are proceeding. The other posts, the other vacant posts, these are except for the ones where there would have been resignations during the course of the year. And we have, I think, offhand, we have about 2 resignations that we must proceed to fill, and we are proceeding in that regard. The remaining posts were funded posts as part of the NMOG process. So these were funds that were transferred to the new Department of Electricity, and they were all funded posts. We held back on filling those posts initially because on the 1st of July of last year, the DPSA introduced a new work grading system, job evaluation system. So we had to, for all new positions, we had to re-evaluate those jobs based on their current formulation of the job evaluation and regrade. And it was a system that the DPSA had put in place. We needed to establish a committee to do that internally, and then the DPSA must have validated the re-evaluation. And once that is done, then we can proceed to advertisable. So that process has continued. The reason why we're not going ahead to fill the posts, as I said initially, was as a result of the NMOG process, the organizational redesign process. In EXCO, I think on Monday, this past Monday, we had agreed that the large proportion of those posts are not likely to be changed by where the structure is heading now. So EXCO has agreed that we must then proceed to fill those positions, and the HR team is then proceeding to issue the adverts, and we'll then obviously do the interviews. Obviously, we'll not make those appointments before the end of the financial year. And then, Chair and members, there's in the order of about 20 million rands, which was allocated under our COE budget, the employees cost line, which was not allocated to posts. Now, that money is what we'll then use to fund new posts based on the redesigned structure, the post and mock structure. And that process, as I also indicated earlier, is underway. So we will conclude the work in the next 2 weeks, after which we'll do the job grading, allocate it to a post level, and then on the basis of the post level, we'll then draw down from the 20 million rands. But that money does sit on our employee cost structure, cost allocation. And because it's not spent, of course, it reflects as an under expenditure. So those are the 2 main reasons why the administration budget reflects a significant under expenditure. And then, of course, the other items, particularly the point I made earlier on the processing of invoices. The delay in the processing of invoices also does impact the under expenditure, because we account for those expenditures. Because of that lag, the expenditures only reflect much later once the invoices are processed. The big cost driver there is the travel costs, because those ones come in at least 2 months after the date. And then there's also a significant invoice on the administration budget that relates to CETA. And CETA, we've been writing letters to them. They obviously invoice us for the hosting of the server, the IT infrastructure that's hosted at CETA. We've written to them umpteen times. I have now written, or the colleagues have been interacting umpteen times through the to their counterparts. I have now written to the CEO because we're not being invoiced by CETA, so we can't settle that. That also reflects as an under expenditure on our side. And of course, with the year-end approaching, it does present a problem. So what we again agreed in EXCO is that we will settle that bill based on the SLA that we signed with CETA in the absence of an invoice. And then once the invoices come through, we'll simply pass a correction on the statement so that we don't run into ex post facto problems once we close the financial year. So I think on the administration budget, those are the key drivers of the under expenditure. The non-grid connections, DDG Kekana will respond to that, Chair, with your permission. DDG Bagwandan will deal with the impact on long-term energy security as a result of delays in the gas master plan and the INGA project. Yeah, perhaps the DDGs can respond to those. I'll come back just to tie up the last question. Chair, over to you.
Okay.
Sorry, call it DDGs, over to you. With your permission,
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, thank you, Acting DG. Can we give over to the DDGs? Whoever
Morning.
wants to start.
Morning, Chairperson. I'd like to start
Morning.
DDG Thabo Kekana, and good morning to the honorable members. Just on non-grid program, just to respond to Honorable Paulson's valid concerns. You'll recall, members, that when we were here presenting Q2 reporting, I think, yes, you raised valid concerns as a result of our delayed start. I think on the non-grid program, we had a delayed start. However, in our last reporting cycle, we made a commitment that we will develop a recovery plan. So I'm actually pleased to report to you, honorable members, that the recovery plan has since yielded significantly positive results. You will see that in Q3, what we report in there, we are reporting, I think we had about 14% progress on the installations. But as things stand, as of yesterday, we have managed to install just under 14,000 units. So we are sitting at just over 80% completion as things stand. So that clearly shows our implementation recovery plan yielding positive results. So as things stand, we will be able to achieve the completion by year end. So I think I just wanted to highlight that the Q3 reporting doesn't highlight this latest feedback or the results, but to date, we're sitting at 80%. So that is on non-grid progress to Honorable Paulson's comment. Thank you, Chairperson.
DDG Bagwandan.
Good morning, Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee. I know there was echoes when I started off with my previous presentation. I'm not sure whether you actually heard me greet you. But good morning to everybody on the platform. So in terms of energy security, I think we're doing quite well. You know, the EAF is now above the 65% mark. You know, it's also reached the 70% on 78 occasions. We're also looking daily on average in terms of coal reserves because of excess capacity, about 4,500 to 5,000 megawatts per day. So, you know, the terms of reserve margins, it's looking good. However, you know, the gas master plan does have with it the gas cliff. So if we're looking at long-term security issues, we need to finish with the gas master plan at in urgency. The advisory panel is also bringing in additional resources to help, you know, escalate and speed up the plan. And we also, you know, would be taking a memo to the to cabinet as well ahead of the plan. So I think that all of this will assist with the energy security and getting the gas in order. Thanks, Chairperson.
DDG, Baba, I don't know if there's anything you want to respond to. Okay, perhaps not. Chair, I think those are the responses.
Did you not hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
I said yes. Now I was asking DDG Mbambo if he wanted to add anything, but I don't think questions addressed to him. So, Chair, I think those are the responses to the questions from Honorable Paulson.
DDG?
Are you done? Are you done?
My apologies. Through you, Chair, I just wanted to respond to the last question on the audit findings.
Oh, yes.
Yes, the
Chair, sorry,
Honorable
Ms.
Paulson, yeah?
Ms. Letabo is the acting CFO. I've forgotten to introduce her. Go ahead, CFO.
Yes, I just wanted to respond to the issue. I think there was an issue around repeat
Yes,
finding.
yes, sorry, yes.
Yeah, and if ever, and what are we doing around the findings? So, we have analyzed the findings that came through from the previous department in terms of what were the issues, just to make sure that we do not have the same issues in the new department. And I'll just maybe just address the issues that perhaps we haven't identified as closed because of they are dependent on maybe future events. Number one, we had an issue of material adjustments made to financial statements. That issue we can only close once we have presented our own financials and they have been audited and there are no findings. So we're keeping an eye on that in terms of making sure that once we prepare the financial statements, then they will be free of material misstatements. So that's one finding that is coming through from the previous department that we are keeping an eye on. The second one had to do with the issues around consequence management, and this has to do with historically reported findings, I think, around irregular expenditure and some fruitless and wasteful expenditure coming from the old department. And then we also had some issues around irregular expenditure as well coming from the old department that we needed to look at. So in terms of the consequence management issues, we've just only now finalizing with the old department the take on balances. We're agreeing as to who will take which balances. So that process is currently underway. So once it has been concluded, whatever balances we take in terms of the irregular and the fruitless and wasteful, then we will also follow the due processes in terms of consequence management and also condonation processes with the relevant treasury. I know on the unauthorized expenditure that was inherited as well, we've already started processes with the National Treasury. So we do have those two that I wanted to highlight that are dependent on future events that we are not able to close as yet. But as soon as we finalize the handover of the opening balances and we've prepared financials, then we'll be able to then conclude and say that whether they are closed or we can then report the status in future engagements with the committee. Thanks, DG.
Thanks, CFO. Chair, I think that completes the round of questions.
Okay, next, Honorable Ngosi.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings to you, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, the department. Honorable Chair, my first actually question will be on the nuclear new build program. Chair, the spending was delayed because the financing model study cannot begin until Chair, the revised nuclear strategy 2.0 is finalized. Maybe what I want to get clarity on, Chair, is what is the status of the strategy 2.0 as we speak, and when will the terms of reference for the financing study be ready? That will be my first question, Chair. And secondly, on the Nuclear Energy Act amendment, Chair, I know that consultations are ongoing currently at NETLEC. But what I want to check, Chair, with the department is that have they secured a firm date for the finalization of the NETLEC report? That is my second question, Chair. I think on the INEP non-grid program, I'm covered. Chair, on the audit findings, I'm also partly covered, but Chair, only 75% of the internal and external audit findings were resolved against an annual target of 100%. I just want to check, maybe, Chair, what are the barriers to resolving the remaining 25% of these findings? Chair, also on the program 1, which is administration, and program 2, which is energy planning and policy development, the expenditure there, it's below 50% for the third quarter. What specific corrective measures are being taken, Chair, to ensure that the full allocation is utilized by the year end? Chair, that is my question. And Chair, ESCOM has shown a significant improvement in generation reliability, Chair, specifically maintaining an energy availability factor of about 65% for the year to date. And Chair, which is very good and very impressive, Chair. But certain operational and social targets remain below expectations, like your OCGT load factor, which stands at 3.82%, while it also remains below the set target, Chair. And also the load reduction elimination, Chair. We know nationally, as early as 2026, only 116 feeders have been removed from the load reduction program. The 116 feeders of 271 feeders, Chair, which makes around only 49% of the feeder removal target, which is met by March. What I want to get maybe clarity on is what accelerated interventions are planned for the final month of the financial year, particularly in Gauteng, where the achievement rate is the lowest, around 32%, I think. Chair, also on the RFP, the target issue was 1,000 megawatts of gas to power to the market, which is missed. We could not able to meet that target. What I want to understand, Chair, why have the RFP for 1,000 megawatts of gas to power and generational additional capacity being delayed? And how will this impact the long-term energy mix security outlined in the RFP? Chair, those are my questions, Chair. Thank you.
Can the department respond? Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I'll ask DDGs to respond. So I'll ask DDG Mbambo to deal with the socioeconomic impact study for the new build, and then the status of how we're processing that, or at least the corrective action there. DDG Mbambo.
Thank you very much, ADG. Good morning to the Chair and the honorable members and the colleagues in the meeting. Chair, the matter raised by the honorable member Nkosi with regard to the socio-economic and cost-benefit analysis study. So the department has made a significant progress in terms of taking through the study, through the supply chain processes. The terms of reference have been approved by the supply chain processes in the department. We are now ready to issue these into the market following due process in terms of the supply chain. And this, we believe, will then unlock the response that we're looking for from an independent service providers in the market to then provide the department the support on how we will then be advancing the socio-economic and cost benefit study that must support the nuclear industrialization plan for the country in looking into the entire nuclear value industry. As the ADG has already outlined that there is significant work in the plan going forward to make sure that we achieve this target in the new financial year, because significant work has already been started. So that's where we are, Chair, and members of the committee, in response to this particular study. Thank you very much, ADG. I hand back to you.
Yeah, Chair, if I may just add to that. So I think there are two things at play. The study, as DDG Mamo has articulated, has got to do with the 10,000 megawatts and the industrialization of the nuclear or the nuclear industrialization strategy. There is also the 5,200 megawatts, which now sits in the table on the IRP, which we're preparing a Section 34 determination for. So I just wanted to make the point that those are now two separate things, and what DDG Mamo was referring to is the 10,000, including the 5,200, which we'll deal with separately. And then maybe if I can ask, well, I guess the non-grid, the Minister, Member Nkosi indicated is covered. Perhaps CFO, the 75% against the 100%, what remains of the 25% of the audit findings or the audit queries? I'm almost, okay, maybe let me give you CFO.
Yeah, thanks, ADG. So like I explained previously, that there's findings that are dependent on future events, and there's also some that are tied to the current process with the DMPR in terms of the splitting of the balances. So the main internal audit findings that we are following up on, and also the external audit findings, are also some of the findings that are coming from the previous department. It's not just the only new findings that are coming from audits that were conducted during the year. So those ones, like I've explained, we are in the process of finalizing the split of the balances. So once that is done, so some of the issues that were raised previously, then we'll be able to attend to. There's issues like, for example, the issue of the asset registers, findings from last year, whatever control deficiencies that were there in the previous financial year, that once we finalized the what do you call this thing, the asset register internally this year with the split of the balances and our own verification processes, then internal audit will be able to do an audit, and then they can confirm whether or not we have addressed the findings. But we are in the process of doing that. And then the other issue that also, I think we've also identified in terms of how some of the indicators, or this indicator has been crafted, is that there's an issue of timing of when the audits are finalized by internal audit and when we actually start to respond to them. So that in itself also has an impact. So, of course, if the audit has just been concluded and then we are in the process of just still addressing the finding or dealing with the control issue, sometimes there is that time delay in terms of it's a finding that has just been raised. It will contribute to the overall 100% of the findings, but we are still in the process of responding to it. So there are no barriers, if I could explain. There are no barriers, but then we're dealing with the issue of timing. We're also dealing with the issues of the split of the balances and finalizing that process, and also the year end that is upcoming, because of some of the findings are linked to the year end. So we should see an increase in this quarter that we are going towards, and then we of course we are now finalizing the split, like I said, and then also in the quarter one of the new financial year, once we have prepared the financial statements. Can I just leave it there, DG? Thanks.
Thanks, CFO. And then, Chair, there was a question about the energy planning expenditure below 50%. Again, here, Chair, we took a discussion in Expo on Monday. Part of the intervention here is that we're just consolidating now what there's work that we've been doing with SANEDI to establish the Energy Center of Excellence that will be housed at SANEDI. So the bulk of modeling, the bulk of energy planning capability will sit there. the split of what goes to SANEDI will remain, and what remains with the department is what we're finalizing now. And with that, once we've determined that split, of course, part of the budget we will then transfer to SANEDI to operationalize the Energy Center of Excellence. Minister has written to the board chair to activate that process, and we will now at the technical level proceed to deal with how we transfer the funding out. But perhaps let me ask DDG Dr. Bangwanan if there's anything you want to add here, Doc, on the poor performance on spending on planning, energy planning, or underspending on energy planning.
Yeah, thanks, ADG. I think you've covered it largely, and I think also, whatever procurement that's in the pipeline will also be completed. So there will be some movement of funds.
Okay, and then maybe just deal with the OCGT load factors,
Yes. So so the OCGT performance is linked to the generation recovery plan. The stations are performing very well, so the load then is not required, and hence also it's also very expensive. So the preference is that Eskom will tend to use cheaper alternatives rather than using the OCGT, and that's why the targets will be below what was actually put in the shareholder compact. So I think I can also deal with the question on the NEDLAC process to finalize the nuclear bill as well. That has not been put before NEDLAC, so we don't have a date as yet. So once we finish with and achieve the parliamentary approval, then we will go to NEDLAC, and it is at that point where we can, get to a date of finalization on the report.
Maybe just to correct, it's the cabinet process, not parliamentary.
Cabinet, sorry. Cabinet.
Okay. And then DDG Kekana, if you can deal with the RFP gas to power, the 1,000 megawatts, and then the load reduction program.
Thanks, DJ and Chairperson. On the gas to power, the 1,000 megawatt RFP, I think this one, we suffered significant delays. One, if just to highlight which one is this one as opposed as compared to the first program. Let me just take one step back. The IPP program is also running gas to power. I'll say gas to power bid window 1, which is currently in the market. The RFP is in the market, and we're expecting bid responses, I think, at the end of Q1 the next financial year. So that is running well through the IPP program. So in parallel, we also issued Section 34 determination for the procurement of 1,000 gas to power plant in conjunction with SAF. So the complexity around this, it's the infrastructure part of the gas to power is being undertaken by SAF, Transnet, SSF, and the Kucha Development Corporation. And the location of this gas to power plant, we are looking at in Kucha. So we suffered significant delays on the infrastructure development. This is the terminal that is going to be built by SAF and Transnet. So as a result of that, so the procurement part, which is undertaken by the IPP office on the downstream, which is now the power plant, suffered significant delays. So that's why you'll see that we haven't moved towards the issuance of the RFP so far as the power plant is concerned. However, in the next financial year, we still have to sit around the table with all the parties involved and see how best we can now bring back the program on track, considering the urgent need to resolve the terminal part of it, of this mega project. So that is the second gas to power plant that I just wanted to indicate that and ensure that it's not confused with the current RFP that is already in the market. On the load reduction, I'll just be with your permission, Chairperson. I don't have the latest figures from ESCOM, so at this current moment, I will not be able to provide the clear status update. Thank you, and back to you, DG.
Yeah, perhaps thanks, DG. Chair, maybe just on the load reduction program. When the program is not running behind, so the 116 feeders is scheduled. The program runs until the end of 2017 financial year. 2027 financial year. We've concluded 3 provinces, which admittedly were the lower-hanging provinces. So I think we've finished the Western Cape is concluded, the Northern Cape is concluded. And I think we were just about to conclude the Free State provinces, and then of course the bulk provinces, KZN, Gauteng, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga. The Northwest is on the schedule, but as Lidishi Kekana says, we'll perhaps that requires us, Chair, to present the. I can't recall offhand now if we presented the load reduction program to Portfolio Committee, but perhaps if we haven't, then we do that. But we also present it with the updates based on the schedule for the load reduction program. Chair, I think those were the questions from Honorable Nkosi.
I think ADG, I can also add on the load reduction program. You know that the load reduction program is deliberately focused on the high loss areas. And ESCOM has undertaken extensive community and stakeholder engagement, and also assistance with the ward councillors. There's public meetings, there's radio platforms, but unfortunately, they're still facing some hurdles because there's persistent resistance that's coming through from the communities in terms of intimidation and violent incidents, and this is also stopping work and also resulting in planned meter conversions that are not taking place, and delays in the feeder removals as well. So I just also wanted to bring in that explanation. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, TG. Chair, back to you.
DG.
Honorable
Chair, my hand is up.
Silas.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for the audience, Chair. It's Silas Zimo, I'm the advisor to the minister. So the acting DG is correct. Northern Cape, all the whole province is now the load reduction has been stopped. Northwest, about 50% is done, but there are others that are coming a repeat. And we have to go back there with the minister, especially in Mafikeng, place called Rooigrond, and Sanfontein. Tomorrow we are doing Mpumalanga. So in every province, there are areas where load reduction has been stopped, but it's not yet 100% all provinces. We will be doing Gauteng next week. And I think that then, KZN is not really load reduction. It's mainly illegal connections where a whole informal settlement is connected. ESCOM keeps removing it, and they put it back. So the ESCOM has approached the police, especially for the area called Umsunduzi. It's very, very rife, and they actually beat the ESCOM people when they cut. They remove those illegal connections. That would be my input for it, Chair.
Thanks, man. Chair, I think those are the questions then.
Okay, thank you very much. Can we give an opportunity to Honorable Maile?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the department for the presentation. Before I begin, just a sort of informal question. I'd like to know when you're going to move off the DMRE website, because frankly, it's unprofessional and for you to be still hosted on their websites. When you're going to get your own. Then I've got a whole lot of questions and comments, so please make notes about them. The first thing is, I just want to comment, Honorable Nkosi raised the issue about the energy availability factor, and he said that that there had been an achievement of about 65%. Well, in your own report, you referred to 62.41% on slide 42. However, on that same slide, you note that Eskom only recovered 1,383 megawatts of a target of 1,980 megawatts. So they are 30% behind their own recovery schedules. And yet your tone remains very congratulatory. I think that we need to adjust our thinking here and maybe have green, orange, red, so partially achieved or something like that. Because if we're not achieving the target, we're not achieving the target. Then let me talk about the IEP. Section 6 of the National Energy Act has been law since the 1st of April 2024. And you confirm that the IEP targets have not been achieved. So my first question is this. Given the hierarchy of policy, regulation, etc., legislation, policy, regulation, the IEP is your top level policy and it is mandated in terms of legislation. You are in direct violation of your legislated mandate by not having that. So my question is, on what legal authority are you making multi-million rand procurement decisions like gas and nuclear when you don't have this mandated statutory blueprint? If this were to go to court today, I believe you would be challenged in terms of rationality of your Section 34 determinations because you don't have that determination, because you don't have that IEP in place, giving you that top level hierarchical overview and cover for the IRP. So I'd welcome some feedback on that. My second question with regard to the IEP is, why is the finalization of the IEP dependent on a non-refundable financing agreement from the Spanish government? Does the department lack the basic technical competence to plan South Africa's energy future without relying on foreign charity? Is that something that we have to have here? Why are we awaiting compliance from the Spanish government? Moving on, you're currently 66,320 households behind on your electrification target for this year. And now, beyond just blaming procurement in general, which specific contractors failed to deliver on this target? What penalties have you put in place to ensure that those households aren't left in the dark indefinitely? Moving to energy efficiency and demand side management, the department only achieved 22.84 megawatts of its 50 megawatt energy savings target. That's a 54% failure rate. Given that we're in the middle of an energy crisis, why has demand side management been relegated to essentially an administrative afterthought while the risk of load shedding remains a threat to the economy? Let's talk about the transmission infrastructure. The draft RFP for independent transmission projects was issued in December 2025, and yet the final RFP is only expected in Q3 of this year. Why is there a 9-month delay in issuing that final RFP? What are the specific technical barriers that have been identified in the draft stage or are being identified in the draft stage that require 9 months, 3/4 of a year, to resolve that while the grid remains constrained? The bankability of that RFP is entirely dependent on the credit guarantee vehicle. In the event that the Prudential Authority, being National Treasury, delays the credit guarantee vehicle's insurance license or development partners fail to meet the second half of 2026 operational target, does the department have a plan B that doesn't involve a sovereign guarantee? Still on ITP, and on transmission infrastructure, we saw with the Medupi Witkorp line that it was delayed by a single landowner despite it being a priority project. So my question is, has the NTCSA secured all of the servitudes that they require for the phase 1 projects, or are you passing the legal and financial risk of land access, call it hostage taking, onto the private sector? You've also stated that localization is a central pillar of that RFP. Given that South Africa has zero manufacturing capacity of high voltage class 4 transformers, what correction has been made in the RFP to ensure that the ITP projects aren't delayed by a lack of local supply? Okay, moving on to the SOEs. NERSA has shown a 43.6 million rand deficit due to falling volumes, which you attribute to the petroleum pipelines business. With the war in Iran driving oil prices over $110 a barrel and supply chain challenges escalating rapidly, volumes are likely to collapse even further. So how will you ensure that this revenue shortfall will not be recovered through increased pipeline tariffs that will negatively affect both consumers and the broader economy? Last couple of questions. With regard to the nuclear new build, you cite delays in acquisition for the Tacepint nuclear site. What are the current monthly holding costs for those delayed preparatory works? And where is that expenditure being reported to the Auditor General? Under what line item in the budget is that being reported? Also, given the massive capital requirements for nuclear, how do you justify the continued expenditure on preparatory work when no clear funding model for a new nuclear build has been approved by Cabinet or Treasury? We're entering all this work, and yet we have no approved budget or funding lined up for it. Then, with regard to the socioeconomic and cost benefit study, will that study include an updated levelized cost of electricity per megawatt for the nuclear new build, including all lifetime costs, or are we going to keep thumb-sucking that nuclear is the cheapest energy source out there? Because that's what we keep getting told, and it keeps getting disproved. Last question on nuclear, and that is with regard to slide 36 and 37, you refer to monitoring reports for Kuberg and for the Centrum Interim Storage Facility. Parliament has not had sight of those reports. So can we please be provided with those documents? Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, Department, can you respond?
Okay. Thanks, Chair. Maybe to Honourable Madam's question. Thanks for those, Honourable Madam. On the DMRE website question, I think I'm embarrassed to have to answer this question. We've been battling with our team internally to get this thing out. We had intended already to have our system up and our web's hosting capability up and running by October of last year. We battled with our team. We've now appointed the service provider to do the development of the site, and we're working with CETA to create the server hosting capability. So, Honourable Madam, to be quite frank with you, we're not going to have the site up and running before the end of the financial year. It will only be up and running in the new financial year. TDG Bhagwandan, if you can deal with the issues of the EAF and the shortfall there, or on slide 42 that Honourable Madam referred to.
Thanks. On the matter of the EAF, so in December, yes, it was 62%. But when I say it's currently at 65%, and being congratulatory, it's around where we are coming from, and that's why I'm saying it's a good performance from where we were to where the previous year and where we are now. But I do take the point that they have not reached all their targets. So shareholder compact targets are stretch targets, and we had set the target at a 70% for them. So yes, they haven't reached the 70%. That's why it's in red. But I just say that it's good progress made from relative to where we're coming from. I'd like to also answer the question on the IEP. Waiting on the Spanish. And to say that, yes, we do require technical assistance here. And whilst we wait for, funding and technical assistance that will come through from the Spanish, SANEDI has already begun some of the work on the data collection and verification. UCT has also been contracted, and that work is also ongoing, and a verification report has also been completed. So it's not like, nothing has been done. The our integrated energy plan is made up of the gas master plan, the fuel sourcing plan, and the IRP. So it's 3 plans. So the gas master plan will also come into the IEP. But work is progressing on the IEP. It's not like we're not doing anything and just waiting for the Spanish assistance. Thanks, Chairperson. ADG.
Yeah. Chair, maybe let me just add a word or two on the IEP. I think Didishi Bangwane has dealt with the processing issue, but I think just to the legality and the question about rationality over determination, respectfully, Honorable Milam, I think it would be very dangerous to leave this meeting without, I'm saying, respectfully challenging that view, because the determination is premised on the IRP. As Didish Bangwana makes the point, the IEP is a composite document. It does ensure that there's a proper integration amongst the 3 documents, the gas master plan, liquid fuels, and the IRP, which is the electricity plan. But the determinations are largely based on the IRP, and area is quite clear that to the extent that the minister deviates from the IRP, he must provide an informed motivation for that. So the determinations are required to be determined by the IRP. So to flip the question around, if you had an IEP and no IRP, you have a bigger legal challenge than you have now, where you have the IRP in place on the basis of which the minister determines in Section 34 or issues a Section 34 vis-a-vis the other way around. So I think, having said that, Chair, I think we're not making light of the fact that one, the target is behind, is badly behind schedule, and internally we are dealing with it with Didish Bangwan's environment. The next one was, I think Didish kind of dealt with it, but perhaps Didish, just to clarify the point about the delays, it's not the failure of contract. I think the specific question is which contractors failed. If you want to just amplify, I guess the point was we delayed in appointment of the contractors. Didish Kekana?
Yeah, thank you, ADG.
And perhaps also deal with the EEDS and 54% failure rate.
Thanks. I think Honorable Malan, if I understood him correctly, is actually referring to INEP, and INEP in terms of conditions of houses. Yeah, that's how I interpret.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
So on INEP, especially INEP 5B for municipalities, Honorable Malan, you'll agree with me. I mean, with considering the municipal cycle, financial cycle, which start 1 July. So we always have that lag. So as we report in Q3 in municipal cycle, it's Q2, and normally they always, suffer or experience delays in appointments of contractors. So you'll see from project or connection execution implementation point of view, municipal cycle Q1, we don't see much of movement. You start to see movement in Q2 upon appointments of contractors. So yes, it has been a slow start, and one of other things that we find challenging, because you'll agree with me that the execution or the connection itself on projects, that responsibility is actually we are just administering funding, which is the grant funding. But when it comes to the actual execution, it's undertaken by the municipalities. So to your point about contractors, which contractors are underperforming or perceived to be underperforming, it's quite difficult being just an administrator of funding. The only levers we have from the DORA perspective is just to hit them with warnings, cutback or withholding of funding. But in terms of the actual execution, implementation of projects, we're a little bit far from that. And this talks to exactly what we're trying to do when we're repurposing INAP to have that PMO specifically established to assist municipalities that we find that they have difficulties in managing projects. And secondly, the second part of the delays, this is now ESCOM 6B. We have seen that also within ESCOM, there's quite a bit of challenges from execution point of view, of which we're trying our level best to address. But be rest assured, in terms of municipalities, you start seeing the turn in performance in the Q4 that we'll be reporting. Then on EEDSM again, execution of projects under municipalities is not entirely rest. It doesn't entirely rest with the department for the same reasons that I've highlighted. And you make a point, Honorable Marlin, that the EDSM program, it looks like it's been reduced to just administrative process that we're undertaking. So going forward, we're also looking at how best we can actually modify the way we've been managing the EDSM program. So in the new financial year, we're coming with measures to ensure that, yes, as we're saying, demand side management or energy efficiency is the first fuel, how best we can actually modify the way we've been managing the program. Another point or a question that was posed, it's in reference to the ITP. You'll agree with me, the ITP program, it's first of its kind in the continent, it's new in the country as well. One will expect a bit of delays on the RFP. We're not necessarily saying we're expecting delays. You have seen the minister made announcement late December for the preferred bidder announcement. 7 bidders, they've awarded that status. Currently, we're working tirelessly to ensure that the RFP, the draft RFP, has already been shared with the preferred bidders, and we are working closely to ensure that the final RFP it's out and the final RFP will be submitted. The bid submission date will be submitted according to the plan. However, you're also making an important point: the finalization of CGV. As things stand, I think last week in Cape Town at the Africa Energy in Durban, we received some positive news from the World Bank. The World Bank's first layer of approval, the SGV participation, and it's going through other series of approvals. And also on Treasury, we've received positive feedback. So that CGV leg, we're seeing that that part which is critical for the finalization of the RFP, we've seen a lot of positive movements. So as things stand, we're confidently saying that from the baseline of the schedule for the finalization of the RFP, we're still on track based on the positive developments that we have seen on the SGV leg. And there was a question about NTCSA, the issues about servitudes. The lines that have been earmarked, I think there's 4 lines? We haven't seen that there is any pending permit approval on those lines. So far as the servitudes are concerned, as things stand, we through NTCSA, we have obtained, I think, all the permits that are required. Hence, that's the reason we earmarked the first phase of the ITP along those lines. Localization, there was a question about localization. We're also working closely with the DTIC and the IDC since last year's workshop. You recall that we had a workshop on the ITP. We've received a lot of concerns that were raised by the industry players. So we're working closely with the IDC and the DTIC to ensure that, yes, we know that currently we don't have local manufacturers, particularly in relation to class 4 transformers. So from RFP point of view, that obligation, we're seeing how best we can, through the help of the DTIC and IDC, how best we can ensure that we still achieve that localization imperative as a requirement for the RFP. So I think, ADG, that's the few that I managed to jot down, unless if I haven't or I missed some of the questions. So I will hand over back to you, ADG. Thank you.
I think the only question in relation to the ITP was the issue around the acquisition of servitudes and so on. So for the ITP, Honorable Madam, the methodology that we've opted for is something we call a late stage tender. So what would typically happen is the lines are identified, the 164 kilometers of line. And then there's an assessment of what needs to be acquired by way of servitude acquisition or acquisition of land portions. And that risk sits with the project team. So we will run through that process. By the time we issue to market, we would have issued with the necessary servitude acquisitions or registrations in place. So I guess to your question, we're not passing that risk on to the bidders, and similarly for the work that the NTCSA will deliver on balance sheet. That work is being assessed now on what servitude needs to be acquired, so it's scheduled as part of how they deliver the project. DDG Pangwanan, if you can deal with the NERSA deficit. Yeah, and then the rest, I guess it's DDG Mbambo.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry, and then maybe the point Honorable Madam raised on page 36 and 27, the questions around the nuclear, the ESCOM Kuberg report and the MPR report. I mean, those reports come through, so once Minister signs off, we can clearly put it to the portfolio committee as well. DDG?
Yes, thank you. I see Silas's hand is raised. I'm not sure if it's on this point on the ITP or something different.
Silas, you want to add?
Thanks, ADG. Thanks, DDG. Now, what I wanted to add is that the transformer manufacturer that went bust in Tshwane has now been officially taken over by a local company called Actom, and they will be doing those big transformers. The competition commission has already given them a go-ahead. It was launched last month, and the DTIC and ourselves were part of that launch. So they may not be able to do all the numbers as we need them, but there's going to be a local manufacturer on those big transformers. Thanks, ADG.
Thanks, Silas. DDG Pangwanan, you want to deal with the NERSA deficit not the deficit, but as a result of the gas pipelines and the point the geopolitical impacts? Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely, the geopolitics will have an effect and an impact on pipeline and the pipeline and, the budgets that NERSA had put in. But overall, we need to, have a frank discussion around NERSA, how we strengthen the reserves and the sustainability of NERSA. Because essentially, NERSA is a Schedule 3 and dependent on National Treasury for MTEF allocations. And these allocations are being cut. As well as there are pressures now on NERSA due to the amendments in the Electricity Regulation Act, which places far more, new tasks onto NERSA, like the oversight of new market structures and surveillance mechanisms, as well as there is a lot more licensing that NERSA is doing. So there's a lot more work, and NERSA needs to be making investments in ICT systems, data analytics, cyber security and automation processes. So overall, the revenue model of NERSA needs to change. Licensing fees will need to go up This has to be to accommodate for the era and the amendments to the era. So the opening of that market and all the obligations that are now placed on NERSA, somebody will have to pay for all of this. So definitely if the consumer doesn't pay, then there's only National Treasury. If National Treasury says they have no money, this is then a discussion that the department is having with National Treasury to, for on the understanding of the impacts of budget cuts on the state-owned entities and the obligations that need to be met. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. And then there's the issues around nuclear. So the first question was around the holding costs. Where is it reported and who picks up? Dilijimamo, I'm not quite sure how to answer this. If you have an answer, otherwise, I think we'll have to go and extract the answer and put before the committee an accurate answer. So if you can, otherwise I'll ask Honorable Bailam through the chair that we come back to you on this one. But Dilijimamo? Perhaps Dilijimamo, you can deal with the question around the funding model for the nuclear build program, the fact that it's not a budgeted item, and then the question about whether the socioeconomic impact will answer to the levelized cost of electricity.
Thank you very much, ADG, and thank you very much for the questions from the honorable members with regards to the issues of nuclear. Perhaps let me start with the one that DG you've mentioned, the funding model for the nuclear new build. I think it's very important that we report to the committee here that the department is still investigating the various options, as we have already DG reported that we have now made an advanced progress in terms of looking into the market for the socio-economic and the cost-benefit analysis study for the procurement of the nuclear program. That we've reported to the committee that is now in the supply chain process, which means that the terms of reference will then be issued to the market for the market to then respond, and then the department will then appoint the service provider to perform this specific work. So what we will then respectfully point out to the honorable member is that now that the matter has reached a sensitive state that is in the procurement process, we would respectfully request that we don't delve into details into what the specification is going to contain, what are the different areas that we're looking from the market to deal with that. We will then respectfully request that this must be allowed for an opportunity for a department to issue this terms of reference to the market. And then once it's in the public domain, then all the different interested parties will then respond into the specification of the department, and it will be handled through the supply chain process. So that will be our advice and the response in regards to whether the study is going to contain the levelized cost of electricity. It's a matter we are respectfully requesting that we leave it at the specification at the supply chain process so that it's handled in accordance with that process. If we go into detail with this, we may risk compromising a procurement process, and that we would request that the committee understand the matter. And of course...
Sorry, can I just come in here? I think we might be putting the committee in a very unfortunate situation, and I really don't want to do that. I think the question is a very clear question, and I don't think there's any harm in saying yes or no. We will answer to that question when we go out. I don't think the question is asking what is the detail of how you've scripted it. So Honorable Madam, I think the simple response to your answer is that the socioeconomic impact analysis will help us answer what is the scale and pace that we need to deliver a nuclear program based on the 10,000 megawatts guided by in the policy adjustment in the IRP to catalyze a level of industrialization that will make the nuclear industrialization program successful. That is a different question from the procurement of nuclear as a technology that feeds into the energy system. And the principle that the IRP codifies is the least cost option. And when it refers to a least cost option, it refers to a least cost systems option. Of least cost, obviously, over levelized cost, so obviously over the lifespan of the asset. So we will answer that question. What is the levelized systems cost for nuclear, like we will do with any other technology, before we commit to any procurement of a technology? So the simple answer to your question, Honorable Madam, is that yes, we will answer that question when we do the procurement. It might not necessarily be answered in the socioeconomic impact, because that's dealing with an industrialization question. It's a different lens that we're looking at. But the Section 2171 of the Constitution enjoins any organ or state to ensure that, amongst other things, when we conduct procurement, there has to be cost effectiveness. Now, we can't answer the cost effectiveness question if we have not understood and answered what is the levelized cost of one technology versus another technology. So all I'm saying is that is part of the variables that we have to consider responsibly and legally to make a determination of how we're going to prosecute a nuclear procurement option. DJ, sorry to intervene there, but please continue with the rest of the questions.
No, thanks, DJ. I was responding because the question was specific to whether the study will contain this, but you've covered the matter quite comprehensively.
Do you have any information on the question Honorable Milam raised on the holding cost, where that, I know it doesn't sit with us, it's probably sitting with ESCOM, but do you have any factual information? Otherwise, we'll have to ask to come back to the committee.
Well, I request that we come back to the committee.
Yeah, okay.
Put it responsible
yes,
for that.
Chair, through you, if I may then make that request formally, that on that question of what is that cost and where is that cost carried and reflected, that we come back with an accurate answer to the committee. I think, Chair, that deals with Honorable Milam's questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Comrade or Honorable Sipombata.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would like to start by appreciating the presentations from the department. And good morning to everybody, colleagues and honorable members. My first question will be on the gas master plan. I think if I can suggest to the DG, I think we will require a recovery plan on this one. Because when I look at the 2025-2026 financial year and look at the implementing processes, I suspect by the end of the financial year, some of the things which I think they are critical towards the processing and the implementation of the gas master plan will not have been completed. Chairperson, the gas master plan is a very important program to provide South African citizens with certainty on the provision of the gas and the sovereignty in which that gas is being provided. We are currently entering a very dangerous phase where the majority of the reliable and aligned providers are going to be involved in a war. And we require a certain level of provision. And we require a determination of how that level will be implemented. I also request that that recovery affects the 2026 and 2027 financial year, because our biggest nightmare was 2027 provision. So for me, Chair, let's carry this forward with determination to make sure that we resolve all unresolved, and be mindful of the war in the East, and be mindful of the fact that some of the gas suppliers that will have been able to cross through the Indian Ocean may not be able to do that on time, because maybe or maybe not, they are falling into the bad side of the war. My second question, Chair, is I appreciate that ESCOM provision is sitting at 60+%. However, my concern is that the department needs to at least caution ESCOM. We are aware, Chairperson, that ESCOM, sitting at that provision, they are also purchasing diesel. More recently, an amount of 100 million was used by ESCOM to purchase diesel, which we feel suspiciously is the diesel they do not need, because there is manageable availability. There is no risk in availability. We were told that diesel is only going to be used as a last option because it is expensive and it affects the budget trend on how electricity provision is done in South Africa. And I had hoped that by now we will not be talking about the financial involvement of diesel in the provision. Because for me, Chairperson, with or without knowing why ESCOM make these decisions, I think they are now bordering on criminality. And I would like the department to watch and be able to maybe provide us with a report on the reasons that ESCOM can tell us is this sudden demand for diesel. Why? And why are they purchasing diesel they don't need? It looks like they are committed to criminal networks of diesel. And to an extent that they don't care anymore. They will even purchase it even when they don't need it. The third question, Chair, is that we have been made aware that majority of the plans that the department has, as it sits towards the ending of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, if you have actually spent 50% on your activities, there is a probability that towards the end of the fourth quarter, if you don't plan accordingly, you may find yourself too pushed to make decisions for spending. And those to push activities may carry mistakes, either mistakes on the missed opportunity or inability to completely implement. I think the department should be aware that sitting on a third quarter report with 50% of the implementation of some of the activities, it is actually not a prudent reporting, because it means the fourth quarter will be a rush and go. And we know what happened when those things happened. So I would have loved to at least see between 80 to 85% sitting towards the third quarter implementation, so as to enable the reporting and the finalization of everything by the fourth quarter to be done smoothly and without making hasty decisions on some of the things that will put pressure on the department for implementation. Thank you, Chairperson.
Answer the department.
I think the question on the gas master plan, by all means, we have in fact processed a recovery plan or elements of a recovery plan to get the gas master plan back on track, but we will put it formally to the committee. I guess that's the request. I just want to make a point that beyond the gas master plan, or outside of the gas master plan rather, there is work that we're doing with the DG Bele at the DMPR and the gas industry to help us deal with the gas cliff in relation to the impact on the 2030 timeline, both in relation to the tapering down of the bulk of our existing gas supply, as well as then the requirement for the 6,000 megawatts of gas to power to come on stream in terms of the IRP. So that work, we've unplugged it from the broader gas master plan, so because it requires urgent treatment. So I just wanted to give the committee the comfort, if it, for what it's worth, that we are dealing with the urgency on the gas cliff issue. DDG Pangwanan, you want to deal with the 60% ESCOM, I guess the approach to the 60%, and then the question of the diesel purchases?
Thanks, ADG. So in terms of the diesel purchase, ESCOM does take-or-pay contracts for diesel, and that's why you would see that they are purchasing diesel. But as the committee has requested, we will provide the report on the reasons why the demand persists and the reasons why ESCOM is buying. So that report we will ask ESCOM for and submit to the portfolio committee.
Doc, can I assist?
Yes, please, Saras, go.
The 100 million that ESCOM paid is not purchasing of diesel. It's a part of the power purchase agreement with Evon and Tedisa that says we have to call them for certain percentages, even if when we don't need them. So it's not the ESCOM purchasing the diesel. It's that pass-through cost from those picking stations, and it's in the contract. So the diesel ones, the purchase of diesel of ESCOM, we can provide that the status. What I can tell the committee is that actually it's been investigated as to why is ESCOM still buying so much of diesel and the heavy fuel oils when the improvements are showing that they're improving. Because those HFO, we use them at the station when coal cannot be crushed to a level that we want to use to burn into the boilers. So those two I've got sight of, and they are being investigated by the group CEO. Thanks, Subesha.
Thanks. And then maybe the last question in relation to the performance. I think the question is well noted. We in fact on in the XY I was referring to earlier on Monday, dealt with how we manage the quarter four performance to optimize the final outcome of performance against the APP targets. The CFO is keeping an eye on the finances. I think the caution again that there's always a risk of almost fiscal dumping when you've not spent, and towards the end of the year you find things. So we are monitoring that. In the report we got. Okay, perhaps I'll come back to that. The point I'm making is that the caution is well noted, Honorable Mbata, and the ExCo team is keeping its eye on the remaining weeks of the financial year so that we close it as close as possible to where we'd have hoped to do, bar for the ones that we've indicated that we're unlikely to achieve at the end of the year. Chair, I think those were the three questions from Honorable Mbata. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Fasi.
Thanks very much, Chairperson, and to the colleagues from the department who have presented. I have quite a few intricate questions, but some of them have been asked. So I think I'd rather just make some more broader stroke points around the performance of the department in general, and then I'll make comments about the SOEs. On the actual department, you know, at the first the turn on which this department was very emotionally complicated.
I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I'm really battling to hear Honorable Hassan. I almost can't hear anything.
Same here, DG.
May Hassan? Allow... Oh, am I?
You're breaking. You're breaking.
Okay, one moment. One moment. Let me try something else. Let me just try a different set of earphones. Apologies, Chairperson and colleague. It might just be that my device. Let me just. All right. Can you hear me in a bit? How's that?
Stop. You were breaking just now again.
All right. Let me try again. If I break, I'll just put in the chat box. But effectively, I was saying that in the initial stages of when this department was formed, I think we were very reasonable in saying, we understand you're still getting onto your feet. But there's now seemingly a pattern of certain programs that are underperforming in achievements or other targets that are unachieved. And it's something that must be said because we don't want to create a negative benchmark of a lack of achievement in certain regards. And I think other honorable members have mentioned the various programs, energy and policy development, energy planning, etc., is one of those in addition to the others that have been mentioned. And it's just, of course, a concern that must be said. Because I don't want us to get into a habit of saying always this program, always that program, etc. That's the first point. The second is related to Nexa. And, you know, Nexa, in when we first started in this portfolio committee, was actually seemingly reporting on better governance turnaround. And we were really starting to see an entity that was better run from the past. And now we're seeing it slip back. Now, I understand that there have been some challenges in terms of the board in Nexa, et cetera, but I'm very concerned about the financial health and financial stability of Nexa and the fact that a number of their targets have not been met. And I think this is, and I think DD Bhagwandan mentioned this, that we actually need to pay a special attention to Nexa. And so, Chair, it might be necessary in the next few weeks. I don't know if we'll have time this term, but it will be necessary to actually call Nexa very specifically on because we want to arrest the situation early. And we want to really intervene. Am I not audible again? Okay, well, effectively, I was just saying I want us to intervene on Nexa so that we turn things around very quickly. I apologize if I wasn't audible like an off box, but effectively, Chair, on a high level, that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Can we respond?
Yes, you can respond.
No, Chair, I think the caution on the performance is well received. I really, as I said when I opened the session, it's not the kind of performance, not here where we are at quarter 3. As Honorable Hassan says, we could have gotten away with quarter 1 and 2 with being a new department. But I think where we are now, the performance is really not that we're not satisfied with the performance. So as I said, we are monitoring it. We are confident that we will improve significantly as we close the quarter. But yeah, the caution is well noted. The guidance on the Nexa, I think again well received, and Chair, at your direction, we're happy to either present or put a report together, or if you so wish, as Honorable Hassan has suggested, that Nexa be invited to the committee. But from our side, you can also be assured that on the issues that were flagged in their report, the oversight team will keep a tighter control over that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Acting DG. I don't see any other hands now.
Mr. Bhakti, Chair.
Okay. Over to you, Honorable Bhakti.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to you and the colleagues and the officials, and thank you for the presentation. Chair, everything I wanted to ask has been covered, but there is one particular issue that I do want to raise, and that's around the load reduction. And what we heard in the response is that, particularly in KZN, the load reduction is driven by illegal connections from informal settlements. And the problem that's faced there is when these connections are disconnected, they come up, they've been put up again the next day, and SAPS is not really being much of a help. But my point here is it cannot just be left in abeyance, because the reality is what we have is entire suburbs without electricity for months on end because of the disconnections that have taken place and paying customers being disconnected infrequently because of the load reduction. It's going to be a solution and may have to come from some lateral thinking as to how one solves the problem, but there's no doubt that there has to be greater coordination between SAPS and Eskom in dealing with the illegal connections in a firm manner and then putting in place something that will prevent them going forward. And we're not seeing this. So what we have is people still sitting without electricity after many months and formal settlements then looking for wherever they can find power and dragging cables and lines across freeways and bridges and so on. And just as a suggestion, maybe the SSEG is a solution that could be considered, but there needs to be a solution to the problem. It cannot just be left in abeyance. And I'd like to know whether the department is giving any thought to this. Have they come up with any plan to find an alternative solution? Because clearly Eskom have run out of options here, and they need some assistance. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Bhakti. Can we get the response?
DG, can I come in?
Yes, please, Saras.
No. Thanks for the question, and it is a valid question. There has to be a solution of how do we stop illegal connections, and when we do our research, we find that some of those people are actually buying from ghost vendors, and that money could be what would be coming into the municipalities or Eskom. So we are looking at one, when we remove the illegal connections, then we do what we call normalization. We then put in smart meters in each house or each shack so that they should have their own. We've done it 2 months back in Sansfontein, and the people are now are damaging the meters because they cannot bypass them. So the challenges are big. The what is coming out clear, especially in areas where there's little employment, is that we may have to go and roll out things like solar rooftops, solar water heaters, give them gas for cooking, so that they can be less dependent on the expensive grid. So there are a lot of discussions with Sanedi, Salga, and within the department on the solutions that would ensure that illegal connections are removed completely. But yes, the case not belong to the municipalities, and the tribal leaders are giving those land to anybody who wants it at a cost. And those land are not proclaimed, so they don't qualify to get services. And if you look at Msunduzi, the people who are staying there, the houses that they've built, it's the same houses as there in Mhlanga. So they can afford, but they don't want to pay. There is a forensic one, let me disclose, there is a forensic underway in Msunduzi by ESCOM, because we then realize that some mayors are staying in the same areas, some MECs are staying there, even ESCOM and municipal employees are staying there. So it becomes difficult when you're sitting in a manager. I always say there's a total in my boardroom. The general manager sits there and say, we're going to switch off that place on Monday. One of the people in that meeting tells them that, hey, they're coming on Monday. And then they find that the communities, there's unrest and all of that. So it is something that definitely needs to get solutions. Technology, if we look at what Transnet has done to protect their infrastructure, there are technologies that we're looking at, and we've actually asked ESCOM to go out on tender to look at those technologies. So if I can explain the technologies, I'm going to take the whole day, but it's a valid point. We need to come up with a sustainable solution, Subesh. Thank you.
Thank you, Saras. Yeah, Chair, I think that would respond comprehensively to the question. I guess the point is we need to find different solutions. We need to be creative. And at a point, we're going to have to be decisive also. Some of the things that Mr. Zimu explains does require a level of decisiveness in how we respond to it. But Chair, I think that's the response there to Honorable Bapti.
It seems as if there is no one or there's no hand now. Ariko, is that so?
None, Chair.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Department, in terms of assisting in answering the questions. But you know, Mos, it doesn't stop there. It might continue. If we slip over thinking other questions, we may as well write to secretary and then to the department, and then you'll answer as such. Thanks ever so much. We are going to deal with the in-house. You are excused.
So thank you very much to yourself and to the members. We will take leave now.
Ariko,
Yes, Chair.
can you flight the minutes?
Sure, Chair.
The bus is about to arrive. The first set of minutes.
Don't know what is happening here now, Chair, but sorry, Chair. Let me open it quickly. I didn't open it. The first set of minutes actually, Chair, is the last two of last year, 2025. Where is it now? 18th. The first one is 26 November. Let me just open a Chair. November. Members will recall there was this three issues, it's the last three, which the members could not, but it wasn't included in the initial minutes when it was considered for adoption. So I've included those 3 minutes. I saw Mr. Nchabi Leng on the platform as well. He was actually the one that raised these 3 issues in the meeting, and he was of the opinion that it should be included in the minutes of 26 November, Chair. So with regard to the 26th, this is the only 3 issues which wasn't included in the initial minutes, Chair. But otherwise, members were happy with the minutes, but wanted to see these included first prior to adoption. So these last 3, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Secretary. Can I get a hand to approve the minutes as read? Are you going to assist Ariko?
I'm looking, Chair, but I don't see any hands.
Still in the meeting.
May Hassan, Chair?
May Hassan?
Chair, I just think we need to add in one word on point number 3 there, where it says members question the institutional location. I think it should read some members as well, because the other points, remember, this was not a mainstream view, it was a minority view. So you must either say it was a minority view or you must say some members, because it was not a majority view of the PC. So I think it's fine for it to be reflected in the minutes as a minority idea.
Okay, only that correction. So what about the adoption of them with amendments?
Yeah, if the amendment includes reflecting, if the amendment can read reflecting a minority view in all 3, well, actually in point 2 there, then I think we can move for adoption, perhaps right at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, just comma, reflecting a minority view. And then with that addition, I'm happy to move for the adoption.
Okay. That's the with amendments from Honorable Fasia. Any second?
Mr. Nkosi, Chair?
Okay, Honorable Nkosi.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm happy to move with seconding the adoption of the minutes.
Okay.
With just the changes that we just made now.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Nkosi. The minutes has been seconded. And then the next set of minutes, Ariko?
The next set of minutes is 3 December, Chair. This was our last meeting in 2025. Where we discussions on the committee 4th term program, update on possible changes to the 4th quarter program, and also the development of the committee annual performance plan for 26-27, and the consideration and adoption of all minutes. This meeting was on Wednesday, the 3rd of December, Chair. There we go, Chair.
Okay. Can I get an honorable member to adopt those minutes of December? Honorable
Hassan,
Sasa.
Chair.
Thanks, Chairperson. I'm happy to move for the adoption of these minutes.
Thank you very much. Any seconder to that? Honorable Ngosi?
I move to second, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The minutes are adopted and also are seconded. Okay, next item.
Next minutes is the 18th of February this year, Chair.
Okay, can you lead us on that one?
Sure. Where's this thing now? Share. This is where the committee was briefed by the Parliamentary Legal Services on its legal opinion relating to the shortlisting of the National Nuclear Regulator Board members. Opening remarks by the Chair, briefing by the Parliamentary Legal Services, deliberations.
Are you done?
Committee observations and then resolutions.
Yeah, meetings. Meetings.
That's it, Chair.
Okay. Any member that can also adopt these ones of February?
Chair, I propose the adoption.
Who's that?
Mr. Milam, Chair.
Oh, Milam.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Milam.
Chair, I propose the adoption.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Member. Any seconder? Honorable Fasia.
I'm happy to second those minutes. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. The next item.
Also minutes, Chair, of 25 February.
25 February.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay.
Where is it now?
Can you lead us on those?
I'm slow this morning, Chair. I'm like a novice. So hold on, Chair.
It's the heat. It's not you. It's the heat. We all slow.
No, it is true, Mayor Son.
Okay.
25 February, where the committee was briefed by the Minister of Electricity and Energy and the National Energy Regulator on the escalation of electricity tariffs.
I don't have a jump seat, man.
Who's this now?
Okay.
Tabling of the tabling of the oversight visit report, discussion on the roadmap towards the shortlisting of candidates for appointment of the NNR board.
What?
Go. Open up. Adoption of agenda, briefing by the National Energy Regulator. Purpose of the briefing. ISCOM court challenge and settlement. Redetermination of MYPD 6. Investigation into MYPD errors. Recommendations and corrective measures. Municipal tariff court order. Implementation measures following court order. systemic reform and process automation, discussions, Department and NERSA released, and then the tabling of the oversight report, the resolutions. That's it, Chair.
Chair, I'm happy to
Okay.
move for the adoption of these minutes. Member Hassan.
Okay. Mayor Hassan adopted the minutes, and then the second.
Chair, I'm happy to adopt or to second the adoption of the minutes, but I do have a query. Chair, in the resolutions of the committee, you'll see that the very first one is that NERSA is to submit the forensic investigation report into the ERA by the end of February 2026. Well, we're now in the middle of March and we haven't received it.
Oh, okay.
So I'll follow up with him, Chair, with regard to this matter.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Any other item?
No, Chair, just an announcement.
Announcement?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a reminder of the joint meeting at 1 o'clock on the Island View report. And then just to indicate to members that the plan is to have a joint meeting next, not a joint meeting, a physical meeting next week with ESCOM on the third quarter performance report. Those are the announcements, Chair.
So much to share the
Okay. I think I'm in a bus, as I have told you that from 12:30, I'll be really in a bus. But I hear what you are saying, Ariko. Look for that, and also we must correct it. And the minutes, we can say it's, can we wait for the correction or do we adopt with the amendments?
We've already adopted with amendments, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. The next item?
No, as I've indicated, just those two announcements, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. Thanks ever so much for everyone who managed to attend the meeting. Thank you.